And I know it sometimes seems we are going backward. In fact, it seems that way now, as we confront a new old question. What will it take? What will it take for the international community to begin to hold Israel accountable? We have asked this question plenty of times before. And often we have imagined that when the injustice and the discrimination and the racism and the brutality and the oppression and the colonization and the besiegement we face become so absurdly obvious that it is our time. It will be our time. But is that so? Is that so, my friends? Because today we see an Israeli government containing senior ministers that are not only self-proclaimed supremacists like Bezalel Smotrich, or convicted racists, anti-Palestinian racists like Itamar Ben-Gvir, but we see a prime minister in Israel, a prime minister who is on the record as saying that only Jews have any national rights to all the land of historic Palestine. Only 2 days ago on CNN, and in fact, I followed him to comment on his gross distortion of historic facts, historical negationism, on record, publicly, in your face. In other words, my friends, in other words, we have a government of supremacists. Supremacists. Led by a man who openly and clearly contradicts world consensus, the global consensus on how to resolve the Palestinian issue. He goes further, Benjamin Netanyahu. He proudly proclaims that one set of people, one set of race, one set of religion has more rights than another set of people, merely because of who they are. Is this not apartheid? Is this not apartheid? Yes. No, again, is this not apartheid? Yes. Surely, my friends, now is the time for governments to register in no uncertain terms, no uncertain words, their position vis-à-vis Israel. Surely now is the time for governments around the world to say enough is enough. 35 Palestinians shot dead in 35 days, only the last 35 days, is not enough. A Palestinian every single day. Apparently the screaming injustice, the absolute lack of a political horizon, the repeated war crimes and the constant consolidation of an illegal, immoral and brutal military occupation and colonial occupation is not enough. Instead, the US, where I served as an ambassador, and the UK, and the West in general, while arming resistance in Ukraine, are arming the occupiers in Palestine. Are arming the occupiers, the colonizers in Palestine. They are contorting themselves to shield Israel from any international scrutiny or accountability. The ICC, the ICJ. You know, the UK voted against the General Assembly simple request for an advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice. So did the US. How far you go out of your way to shield, to make one entity above the law, the exception of the rule. And not only the ICC and the ICJ, going as far as to curtail your freedom to protest this illegal occupation with your wallets, with your stomach. This is what legislation going through Parliament, the UK Parliament, at the moment will do. As far as that. The commitment to international law, my friends, is not tested when you apply it on your foes. It is tested when you apply it on your friends. And that's why the US and many other Western countries have been failing for a long time. Because when it comes to your friends, rules are not applied. Simple as that. The rules that were established here in this city, in this continent, after the horrors of the Second World War. I was in the Methodist Church only a couple of days ago, where the first UN General Assembly convened. All that is trashed, so we shield our friend and ally that we have shared values with. Shared values with who? With who? And what are these values that you share? With Ben Gvir? With Smotrich? With Netanyahu? And what are these values? What are these values that you share with Israel? Every morning, every evening, I hear British politicians, American politicians, Western European, shared values with Israel. So my friends, I say it sometimes seems like we are going backward, like now. But I truly believe that this is also our moment. This is an opportunity, grim as it may sound, given the tragic situation back home, on the ground. This is the time we must challenge governments and opposition parties with these truths and demand some answers. We must demand some answers. How do we square your stated commitment to all these parties, to international law, with your support of this occupation? How do we square that? Every human rights organization in the world calls, every one of them calls Israel's colonial occupation an apartheid regime. Every one of them, including the UK's Amnesty International. This is not a time for apologies. This is a struggle for global justice. It goes way beyond Palestine. For a world in which friends and foes alike are held to the same standards everywhere. This is a continuation of the struggles of Nelson Mandela, of Martin Luther King, and of Mahatma Gandhi. This is a struggle for equality, for human rights, for freedom, and for an end to impunity. And it is a struggle we are winning. It is a struggle we are winning. You've mentioned the interview at Sky News, and before it and after it. You know, when they attack you, when they start naming you, they know that they have lost the argument. Kamel, they have lost the argument. I've been following many articles in the last few hours and days about that interview. And none of it is about the substance. None of it is about the policies. None of it is about the practices. All of it is about tagging and naming and describing. You are terrorist, and you are this, and you are that. You are anti-Semite, and you're tagging. But it is exactly then when you know you are winning. Because they cannot engage you in the real issues. Because they have lost the argument completely. So, we will prevail, my friends. Justice will prevail. You will prevail. Double down and rise up as you always do. Because if your government does not hear us, it will hear you. And soon you will help free Palestine. Thank you.